So these are our membership questions right here. And we'll just jump right into them. Dan Vendetta, I like it. V. Is it V? V for Vendetta. V. Dan Vendetta, do you have any criteria for animal feed you give your chickens and rabbits? For example, I like that you gave an example. For example, soy-free, non-GMO, lowest cost, etc. To answer your question, I really don't, man. We don't actually consume a lot of the animals that we grow on the property currently, just because I'm lazy. Like, I've got 42 Cornish cross chickens up there that are so big right now. They're going to have to go in turkey bags, and we have to look and see how many turkey. We actually need to kill 3 of them and just make sure we have bags for them. Probably. I'm looking at Cody over here. I don't look at processing animals as fun. I'm outside. It's hot. I'm sweaty. I have more sticky stuff on me. It stinks. It stinks? You think it stinks?
Chicken fucking stinks.
Chicken stinks because of the scalder?
No, it's just that as soon as you start processing one, it doesn't smell like any other animal you process.
Yeah, but I don't think, oh, that's gross. Like, I don't...
I mean, I don't like the smell of it.
And then I've heard Nicole said put a couple drops of, like, Dawn dish detergent in the scalder.
Okay.
I don't know if that's for smell or it helps. I don't know why.
Yeah, I do know that the scalder kind of stinks, but that's a different smell.
The big thing with processing the birds is put them on clean grass the day before, like really clean.
Don't feed them the day
and don't feed them because they'll stay clean. They won't have poop all over them.
Well, what we ran into is that the day that I processed after they had been fed, you turn them upside down and they start throwing up.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of gross.
But we usually I know not to feed them, so I mean I don't know who fed them before.
It was one of those days I had gone up there to do it.
Got it, when we weren't planning on it. So the thing with feed, you'll hear a lot of people say, oh, I can't eat chicken eggs, I'm allergic to chicken eggs. Most of them are not allergic to chicken eggs, they're allergic to soy, and most of the feed has soy in it because it's inexpensive. When you get chicken feed that is non-soy, it costs considerably more. And I heard Nicole say fish meal, right? They're making part of the protein out of fish, and she says that she can taste, the eggs taste fishy to her. So we just get it at the co-op. It's considerably less expensive than buying it at Tractor Supply, which are really...
$6 a bag.
$6 a bag is what we're paying?
That's the difference.
$6 difference is the bag, okay.
So it's about $14. If you go to Tractor Supply, it's about $22, and I know that because I was buying quail feed.
So I don't. You can totally do non-soy, you can do non-GMO, it's available. I know our friend John Witherspoon drives about an hour here and then goes to Paris. We're on the way off the interstate to Paris. And there's a feed place out there that he gets he gets super sacks, right? Which they forklift in, they're big 4x4 or 3x3 cubes. And we should be doing that. We just haven't because the bags are just so damn convenient. And day before yesterday, I took a bunch of empty feed bags, rolled them half over, and filled them with soil, and we're putting potatoes in them. I'm always telling people you can grow in anything, so we're just doing it. And I've got some potatoes, some seed potatoes from months and months ago that are so nasty they have like little bugs around, flies and shit. We're gonna plant those and see if they grow. The worst case, like that's as bad as it can get. Let's see if what's doable, right?
That's what I was talking about, because it seems like potatoes are very simple. Like you've pulled some stuff up that you planted years ago, and there they are growing.
Yeah, yep.
So for sure. That's something that I enjoy eating, but I don't eat it because it's you shouldn't. Mm-hmm. So having them growing.
So the difference is
if
though,
something happens, then I can just eat them.
Do sweet potatoes.
Yeah.
And you can use the vines. I'm gonna plant sweet potatoes around the property and just leave them. And I plan to grow a lot of sweet potatoes just for the vine to feed to the animals, just to give it to them.
Yeah, and then if you ever need, I mean, you wouldn't. You've got plenty of other things, but like for me, if we ever needed something, I could just go dig up a potato. Like if
it gets to the point where you have to dig up a potato to survive, you better already be here somewhere. We'll put you in one of these empty houses here. Byron Roberts. Do you have days when you don't feel motivated to do videos or make posts on social media? How do you get yourself motivated to do them anyways? I do. And those are the days that you don't see any videos and you don't see any social media. Yeah. And like the days that you don't want to work out will typically be the best days that you work out. And once you start working out, ignites something. I woke up at 3 o'clock this morning. My intention was to get up at 4:30. I went to sleep. I turned the lights off at midnight. So I wake up, look at the clock, and I'm like, I got 90 more minutes. And then I look at the clock literally for 30 more minutes. And somewhere in there, I fell asleep. And when I opened my eyes, it was 4. And I knew I better get up, because if I tried to wait it out to 4:30, I was going to blow past that. There wouldn't be a 4:30 video. So I didn't want to work out this morning. I did 30 minutes on the treadmill. And then I went, and because I didn't want to work out, I did every single machine and piece of equipment that I have in my gym. And got a pump, felt good, and it kind of ignited something. I'm not tired. I'm having a good day, getting a lot of shit done. I then went outside, took care of the garden, moved some sprinklers around, and went back inside, got some stuff done, and then went back outside and took care of all the animals. And some friends came into town who we haven't seen in years, and here we are recording. But this easily could have been one of those days. I absolutely do. It's just mental toughness. It's like taking a cold shower. You know the water's going to be cold, and if you get in the shower and you do your shower thing and you're like, okay, I'm going to finish with 3 minutes of cold water. You creep it down, creep it down, creep it down, creep it down. Just turn the bitch all the way down, right? It's going to be cold. You're going to end with it cold. Get it over with. It literally is mental toughness. Most people that say they can't do something, what they mean is they don't want to do it. They haven't tried. It was kind of hard. It seems uncomfortable. They just don't do it, man. You just have to fucking do it. I can't get up in the morning. Well, then set an alarm on the other side of the room so you have no choice but to get up. And especially if your woman sleeps with you, if you got a girlfriend or a wife, she's going to fucking wake you up and make you get up to turn that alarm off. You might skip past it. I hear people say I slept through the alarm. Really, I think that's just mostly bullshit. I'm sure there's somebody, but mostly that's somebody who's late to work. That's usually what it is.
The thing about the cold showers too is I did those for years, and yeah, there's physical health benefits for taking a cold shower. The mental toughness part is getting into a cold shower. So don't do the, start hot and bring it down, because that's comfortable. It's all about, I'm gonna do this, and it's gonna feel like shit for like 2 seconds, and then it'll be over.
If you take a cold shower too, like Ed Milet will tell you, I always start my morning with something cold. That's getting he lives on the ocean, right? He gets in the ocean, he gets in the cold pool, he gets in a cold shower. If you're tired, like if there's any way you can jump in the shower middle of the day when you kind of are crashing, get in a cold shower. It'll wake you up. 6 o'clock, you're like, I need to go till 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. 6 o'clock, if I'm tired, all I gotta do is take a cold shower. It ends that tiredness. It reprograms your mind. You forget that you're tired. Jeremy Kirby says, do you have any plans for expansion? Not the business, but the property and the prepping. I know you said in the past you are doing what you want to do. You said you're doing what you want to be doing as and the business side. And if there wasn't any more materials, y'all still be working and farming. Have you ever thought of doing anything else besides sewing and farming? If so, what? So, there's a lot of questions there. Plans for expansion. I have a 5,000, this building here is 10,000 feet, the floor print. I have a 5,000 foot building kit sitting out front there right now that just has to be erected. We got to put concrete in. We just haven't done it. When it was time to do it, a lot of money going into other things, mostly food production and things on the property that were more important right at that time. So it's just doing it. It's just the finances and putting in $45,000 of concrete. The building kit is paid for. I wrote a check for right around $80,000, bought it outright. 6 months after that, Thad went to buy the exact same building kit, and it was like $125,000. We definitely bought it at the right time. As far as what we would do, I don't know, man. I mean, I don't intend to not do this. I intend to make a lot more money and do a lot less of it, which we've been doing well at doing that. And then the food production thing is, I've got most of my guys that work here moved from other states. They're not going back to those states. So if we were not able to build gear, which we always will, I mean, we'll turn it by hand and fucking put treadles on them if we have to. I don't know that we would be building tactical gear or clothing or what it was. We always have that capability. Man, we'd be selling firewood. We'd be selling rabbits. We'd be selling whatever it is. I mean, manual labor. Huh?
Eggs, birds.
Yeah. Fucking moonshine. I mean, not moonshine, but, you know, fuel, whatever. Stuff that you could run off. You know, whatever the need is at the time. As far as prepping, I am lacking in solar. We need solar, and probably a lot of it. I don't really want to do a giant solar system. I want to do several large solar systems, not all interconnected. These buildings, these sheds, we have several of these sheds. Right now, this thing we're standing in, it's 14 by 40. It's spray foam insulated on the bottom. It's fully insulated walls and ceiling. There's a dual head mini split, 18,000 tons. I think it's 18,000 beats,
something like that,
something. Yeah. So it's really efficient. There's a lot of power coming into this building, but all we're running is just wall sockets. We need to finish it out. We're probably going to finish it out in half of it at least, so it's like a podcast studio. There's not any bad echo in here with all the insulation as it sits right now. But just building these things out. So if the electricity went out, it's obviously a lot easier to heat and cool these than it is, you know, a traditional style home. And if it comes to the point where the power is out or something catastrophic has happened, you're not going to be able to secure your shit and keep your shit unless you have bodies around. You're gonna have to put them someplace. Someone will stay in tents, but I mean,
Bunk wrecks.
yeah, and that's the, we'll do modular bunk beds that we can literally put together almost like Lincoln logs, so that we can pull them out. But those, as they sit, bunk beds as they are, that's just shelving. So you can store a ton of shit, and then when you need to put people there, you can pull the stuff off the shelves. DJ Guzman, what's up, man? Hello, John. Considering how many states have adopted or are in the process of school choice, meaning they can take their tax-funded dollars to education provider of their choosing. I didn't see a question there. While I do believe that many radical social issues have made their way into the classroom of students nationwide, my question is, will having school choice produce a more aware and educated population of young men and women? I think that it will, but I think you are still leaving the education of your children to people who do not have your children's best interest at mind. If you look at who most of the teachers are, not all, but most of the teachers, they are not somebody that you would fucking hang out with on the weekend. They are not somebody you can have a conversation. If you're watching me right now, you probably also have seen some of my 9 o'clock evening videos. Most teachers will not agree with the things we say. And if you're watching me, you probably think the same or similar things that I think. Can you have that conversation with a public school teacher? Most of them you can't. And there's a saying, it's that liberals don't have kids, they have your kids. And that holds pretty true. Not all, again, not all, but most teachers are not producing their own food. They're not freedom-minded. They hate the fact that you can do what you want to do. They would love to see you in prison for having a Gadsden flag or owning an AR-15, right? If your teacher has a problem with you owning a rifle like that, should that person be teaching your child? Because they are programming your child. They hate everything that you love. So what are they going to do to your kid, right? They're going to fucking... I just had a great conversation. I wish I had recorded it with our massage therapist exactly about this. And she had said, you know, my sister kind of is a non-starter, right? My parents paid for both of our educations. I went to massage therapy school and other therapies. And then my sister went to like cosmetology and beautician, but she never really worked as any of those things. She believes that the system should help you and you should have food available and equal, everybody gets equal opportunity no matter. She's a fucking socialist, right? She's a communist. So, and I said, that's because she's not a business owner. She goes, what do you mean? I go, think about it. You're a business owner. You have money. You have to make your money. Nobody gives it to you. If you don't make money for a couple weeks, you can't pay your bills, right? Then you can't pay your mortgage. Your sister doesn't have that. Your sister works at a place and is, you know, human resources and all the deal. I said, if your sister ever ran a business, she would see that her beliefs they're bullshit. They don't work. Because you don't fucking have to earn your own money, right? You just show up at a place. So there's a big difference with that. You have a lot of options for your child. Like, you don't have to, is it Illinois? I think it's Illinois right now. And this is happening all over the United States. Spirko talked about this 2 years ago and said this would happen. I believe it's Illinois. They are laying off 11% of teachers. And they just passed some fucking law where they said, or maybe it's not a law, but the teachers union said they are not going to lay off any people of color, no persons of color. So it's only going to be white teachers they're laying off. Is it white teachers they're laying off? Or is it the janitor and the handyman and the landscaper? I don't know what the real answer is, but they're virtue signaling. Court already said it's illegal to do. They're going to do it. But why, right? That's because they have a downward decline in registration. They said that there was 15,000 students didn't show up to first day of school in Los Angeles this year because we're tired of your shit. Like, we're just fucking tired of you trying to program our children. We see the crazy shit that's happening right now with your what is your average Antifa age? I don't know the answer to that, but I'll bet it's 18 to 25, right? That's that last generation that got programmed by fucking public school and by the liberals, right? And don't get me wrong, but John, I'm not liberal, I'm conservative. You're still playing the same game, man. Neither one of them is for you. It's just the lesser of two evils. You're not going to change anything by voting, but you can change the future by how you educate your children and what the beliefs of your children, right? Why would you send your kids someplace to spend all day with a person that hates your way of life? Even Martin Luther King said the same thing. So, Acellus Academy, it's an online school system. There's 6,000 public schools in the United States. People are sending their kids to public school to be around motherfuckers that hate you and your children, and they're not even teaching your kids. They're daycaring and babysitting your kids and twisting them to their will. They're grooming them and teaching them that pedophilia is okay and all kinds of crazy shit. They're teaching, but the curriculum, they sit in front of a monitor. It's a Acellus Academy. It's what Jack Spirko uses for his grandkids. It's emphasis on science, technology, engineering, math. It seems like a great program, and you're like, well, I can't afford that, guys. I think it's under $200 a month, and if you agree, you can get a scholarship. And the scholarship or the grant, the way it works is your child has to watch one video a week that's 15 minutes, and then has to answer some online questions. And for doing that, I think that it's $85 a month. You get a downward departure and you only pay $85 a month. If you can't pay $85 or $200 a month for your kids' education and the future of your children, the future of your name, well then how are you on the internet right now? Because you certainly can afford all that bullshit, right? So it's totally doable. There's other programs, man. You can do the Waldorf Academy. I don't know a lot about it. It's very prestigious. I know a lot of people with a lot of money built their own schoolhouses and hired their own schoolmaster and mistresses, and they used the Waldorf program. Check that out. There's a lot of programs, man. You have a lot of options, more than ever, and the system is on fire. The structure of the public school system is on fire, and it's kicking and burning, and it is a wounded animal, just like your current government administration. It is a wounded animal, and it is very, very fucking dangerous to you and your way of life. So
I have a little point to put on that. Yeah, so this whole public school system conversation is huge, but I do want to say we use Acellus, and I think your numbers are just about right. I think I might have paid the first month $120.
Okay.
And then they're doing the scholarship, and it's like $80 or $70 after that. they've been doing it for a month. Now, my wife has experience with teaching, but anybody can do it. They've been doing it for a month. They do the curriculum that's just what you need to know. It's not what you would get in public school, where they're going to teach you that, pedophilia is okay and all that stuff. I think they spend about 4 hours a day doing it.
Yeah.
And she got an email the other day wanting to know why they're already halfway through the school year. And they've been doing it for a month.
Yeah.
4 hours a day for a month. And as far as I know, the grades are fine. Like, I haven't heard anything. And last time I heard, they were getting A's. So
yeah, Jack said because the grandkids stay with Jack and the wife through the week. I don't think they stay there, but they're there all day, right? And the kid would, piss and moan, and I don't want to do school. And he's like, look, man, as soon as you finish this, you're free. You get to do whatever you want to do the rest of the day. And once the kid got that in his head, right?
Yeah.
He said it takes about 90 minutes a day is what they do. And then he's done. But when he's done and has the option, once you're done with school, you can do the iPad on these channels, and the kid loves big cats and stuff. So he's really into all the big cats and zoo stuff. You can do whatever you want. The kid continues to do Acellus Academy.
Yeah.
He's done his tuition for the day. He's done his study for the day and chooses to continue to do more.
Yeah, so that's why they do 4. So Acellus will give you math, reading, science, the basics that you absolutely have to know, and then it's up to you to add in whatever you want. So it's probably about 90 minutes with their curriculum, and then the rest is like art that she does and stuff like that.
Yeah, Jack said their kid's a year ahead. Last time I heard.
Yeah.
And they're teaching them real math, right? Not Common Core bullshit. Like, if you as an adult can read a tape measure and deduct common sense that, if I have 16 and I take half away, the answer's fucking 8, right? The real fucking answer. If your kids are coming home with some bullshit and you do the math and it comes out and your answer's wrong, there's probably something fucking wrong with the system. How are you going to put a kid with some bullshit, doesn't know the answer, how are you going to put that kid in the real fucking world when you can't do basic addition and subtraction and you got to do all this other bullshit, right? That kid will never function in society. And it's almost as though they are designing it so that those kids cannot function in society. Because if you can't function in society, you rely on the government. And that's what they need. That's what it's all about. It is about fucking your kids up.
The tape measure thing drives me crazy. I can't believe how many people can't just read it.
With all the fucking governing bodies and laws and shit and regulations, why don't we regulate that every fucking tape measure has to start at the fucking end of a tape measure? Why do you have 4 tape measures and they start in different... Like, if you want to govern and regulate some shit, why don't you fucking regulate something useful like that?
Yeah. Standardized tooling?
Something. Fucking something, man. John, I have a question. Do you watch any YouTube channels on freeze drying? If so, what are the ones that offer the best help? So, Retired at 40... is the biggest one. There's some other channels out there, but the Retired... so to answer your question, Retired at 40. And there's a great Facebook group for that also, Retired at 40. And if you're freeze drying, you should probably also be looking at canning. The Presto canning group, the electric canners, the pressure canners we use.
Presto digital pressure canner.
Yep. And there's a great group for that also. There's a couple canning groups, but Retired at 40 is the most active group and active YouTube page that's out there. And we watched them before we bought ours. We got a lot of information, and we are in those groups also. Trying to pair some... Who said this? Aurora Rings. Trying to pair some cold hardy berry bushes for the backyard while also creating kind of a living fence to block the neighbors. The space is about 40 feet long, 4 feet wide. Any spacing recommendations to provide cover, but not crowd them to a point where they choke each other out? I don't know the answer to that, man. I would think blueberries, but I've got 72 blueberries. I've got more than that now on the property, and they're not a living fence.
Not at all.
Not at all. I've got some, I've seen blueberries get big, but they're not going to block anything. They're definitely not going to block any sound. They're not going to be good for sound abatement.
All I could think would be bamboo or pine.
Yeah, bamboo or willow. You can take willow trees and literally take the branch off a willow tree, put it on the ground, put some dirt on top of it with a rock, and that will become another willow tree. You can actually weave willow, you can weave bamboo, and you don't have to get running bamboo. You can get clumping bamboo. It lasts about 50 years, I think William said.
Pretty good.
But you can just plant it and it will expand, but it won't go nuts, right? Bamboo is expensive. Willow, you can take willow and just cut a stick and put it in the ground, and that thing will grow roots and become another tree, another plant. You can use rooting, what's it called? Rooting, it's like rooting powder. Anyways, you can use this stuff you put on there that helps it root. You don't have to do that. You just don't have to. Willow it's like an invasive species almost. It will grow anywhere. But it's not going to run and go crazy. It's going to grow where you put it, and you can weave it. The best time to do it was 6 years ago. The next best time is right now. It's going to take some time to accomplish what you want. You might just put in a privacy fence and then put your plants there if it's only 40 feet.
Trellis up on it.
Yeah, you could run, there's all kinds of vines, man, that you could get that'll go up on that trellis. Max's Path. Have there been any bizarre uses for a bag that wound up causing you to change the freedom or build? No.
The freedom or build? I don't understand.
Like, did we change our design or something because of the way people were using it? No. Nothing really stands out.
No.
Maybe.
I mean, at most, we might have made something just a touch larger or a touch smaller. But
yeah, if an end user comes in and is like, I need to carry this thing, we might take something that if you really look at what we really build like 5 things. We just changed the dimensions on them and put some more bedazzlement on them, right? We put some other features into them, but really they're a 6x6 zippered utility pocket is about the same build as a tool bag. It's about the same build as a medical backpack. It has a zipper, it's a clamshell. It's got a double layer bottom. The zipper goes into that to conceal it. It's just what we put on it to make it function, and then moving the numbers around.
The only thing I could think of is, I think it came from your feedback, was the fupa versus the fanny pack. You just wanted something smaller.
Yeah, I just wanted something.
Yeah.
And when I set out to build the fanny pack, I set out to build like this big, right? Put your car keys,
yeah,
and maybe a tiny pistol in there,
Credit card.
and just fucking take it in the gym with you, right? All your other shit's in the truck or whatever. But when I built it, aesthetically, the first one didn't look right, so I just moved the numbers around to where it looked right. What you want isn't always what will sell. Like if it doesn't, when you take a picture of it and it doesn't look good, it's not going to sell. And you're using the internet to sell all that shit.
That's anything creative. Like you have something in your head and it's not going to turn out the way it is in your head, but it'll be better, or you'll make something different.
Yeah, like the first FUPA, the birdwatcher rig is what we called it.
Yeah.
It's the big one hanging in there that's ATAX. It's so super square and big. I made that for Scully so that he could carry a pistol while we were out kayaking. And it just looked dumb. It looks dumb hanging there. It's it's 12 by 12 inches, right? And it looks stupid. It looked even dumber on camera. And that's when we moved it to be what the FUPA is, and that's also when we added the waist strap. It originally was just like a chest rig.
Yeah, I think I bought one from you guys like 2 years ago, and I think it came with a chest strap.
It does now.
Yeah.
It comes with
with
two chest straps, and it comes with a waist strap, so you can use it as a fanny pack or a chest rig.
Yeah.
So think like horseback climbing fences, crawling through tunnels, running through in and out of a car, anything, right? Kayak and motorcycle, it's right there, right? It's right there, it's tight, and you can access whatever you have in there.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that, like, once you have it, you find reasons to use.
Whereas
like,
if you have a fanny
stuff.
pack, it's got a single strap. Even if it's in the back, you can tighten it down. You can't access it. If it's in the front, it's blowing around if you're on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
So
when you have that thing,
in a car, you can't grab it.
especially if you're on a sport bike, I mean, you're bent over, like you can't even wear it.
And it's when it's loaded down with weight, like with just that single strap, like you can't fix that because it's just a strap. But on the chest, You can
like
do
I
whatever you
use it
want
all the
with
time. I got 4 flashlights. I've probably got 20 different sets of batteries. I've got 2 more GoPros in there, and I just throw it over my shoulder. And then when we're in there for real, once we're in wherever we're going, I just tighten it up, man, and it just sits right. I don't even know it's there.
Yeah.
I don't even. You can see it on video when we're filming and stuff. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even remember I had that on. Max's Path. Has there been any? Okay, we read that one. Casey Kemp. No question. Just wanted to say thanks for the quality gear. I might die in someday. Well, I hope you don't die. Don't die. And thanks for the message, man. Amy Lynn Jones. John, do you plan on raising cattle? I do not plan on raising cattle here. I cannot grow enough grass here, though we are working on that. And to really grow grass, you need a ruminant. You need something with a hoof also. That's what a ruminant is? A ruminant means it's got the extra stomachs in the rumen.
Oh,
Not sure.
yeah.
So hair sheep. We're bringing in hair sheep. And I actually had this conversation with myself when I was pulling up on the 4-wheeler to go into the kitchen this morning. I need to put a call out in some of the local groups. I need 3 hair sheep yesterday, because you need the sheep, right? You have to have sheep or a cow to eat that, shit that out, and to actually build fertility and restore soil. So you can use goats too. We're using sheep. A cow, when you have grass and your field is covered in snow or ice, a cow will nose down and it will not hoof. It won't uncover. A sheep will uncover. It will move it. So what we're doing is our grass in a lot of places is about waist tall right now. It's driving me crazy. We literally just 15-20 minutes ago, when we went to get the quail, I had to walk through some grass that was up around my calves. You know when grass touches you, you feel like there's bugs on you? Right now, I feel that way, right? That's because there's fucking bugs on you. They come off of the grass. So I like to keep my shit mowed. So I've kind of mowed a path where I go so that I don't have bugs all over me. But I've let the grass grow up. And what we're going to do is we have a sheep tractor. It's a big, like a dog kennel. It's on big wheels. You can push it with I can push it one-handed. It's 10 by 20 feet. We'll put a tarp over the top so there's partial shade. And the sheep, we will move them until they eat the grass down, and we will move them. But we're only letting them eat the top third. I don't want them to eat down to where the sun hits the soil, and I don't want them eating to where they're eating where their feces is. That's when you have vaccinations, not vaccinations, but you have parasite problems come in. So you have to use a lot of chemicals and drugs and stuff for them. If they only eat the top part and they're not eating out of their own feces, they won't have parasite load nearly the same. So whether those 3 eat it down and we move them twice a day or 3 times a day, whatever we have to do. But they're in there, and because they're hooves, they're basically aerating the soil. And then the poop, when we move them on about day 3, day 1 and 2, the flies lay their eggs and the larva hatches. We bring the chickens over on day 3 over the same area, so it's constantly moving. So the chickens dig through that manure, they break it up, and they eat all those fly larvae before they become flies, so you don't have a big fly load, you don't have the parasite load. The chickens turn that into eggs, and also the chickens are scratching now, and they're super fertilizing that manure as well as their own into the soil. And you can see it, man. You can see it on the drone just doing the rabbits and the chickens. I've been doing scorched earth. I ran one set where I moved them for about 20 days this way, and I moved them a couple times a day. So when I moved them, there was still green grass, and then on day 2 and 3, that green grass would yellow because they've manured all over it in the urine load. And then I've also left them 24 hours, and when we move them, it smells, and it's raw ground. It is just fucking dead mud, but it's really just mud covered in shit. And when you look at it from the air, you can't really tell which is which. Both of those grasses, having had birds on it maybe 6-8 weeks ago, no, it's probably closer. It's because it was right before last Self-Reliance Festival, so it's about 10 weeks, 12 weeks maybe. The grass is this tall. It's 10 shades of greener. We haven't watered it. We didn't fertilize it. We didn't reseed it. We didn't do nothing to it. And it looks amazing compared to where the birds recently were. So a lot of it is, the takeaway is just, man, there's not a right or wrong way. All of it works. All of it works. And what works here might not work the same where you are. But cows, we eventually will have cows. We will not have them here. But immediately we are bringing in sheep here. And then we've only ever worked the front part of the property. The back part of the property is way bigger. We've never run animals out there. And we've been letting that grass grow up too. And we've been working that. So we're developing soil is what we're doing.
Last couple rains we had too, that shit exploded.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ever since Billy said that thing about rainwater just being so much better than anything else, I've really noticed it.
Yeah. Joe Walker, I know you wear Cole pants. Which specific ones do you like in the long pants? They seem to have many versions. So Ryder, R-Y-D-E-R, is what we have the most of. And then I have Lawless, and I have the Law, and Above the Law, I think. I like the heavy ones. I don't like anything that makes noise when I walk. I don't like any thin pants. Shorts, I wear, well, 100% of the time if I'm wearing shorts, and probably 80% of the year I'm wearing Katanica shorts, Katanica range shorts. I have their pants. They just don't have enough colors of them for me to wear. And for some reason, I love the pin slots, right? I can put 3 pins or tube lights here, right? For some reason on the pants, they switched them. And when I put the pants on, it really fucks me up enough that I don't wear the pants. And the pair of pants I have from them is OD green. And I just look like a border patrol agent when I walk in places. Like I see me in them. I'm like, man, you look like a fucking cop.
They're
So,
thinner too, aren't they?
huh?
They're thinner too, aren't they?
No, they're this material, but they're reinforced. I mean, anything from Katanica is amazing. You will love it. As far as the pants though, Coles, I've been wearing nothing but their coffee or espresso color. It's like a dark brown, and it just I just think I look a little nicer wearing those. I wear those brown pants with a black shirt. I almost always wear nothing but a black shirt. And I can put on a smart wool or some other kind of pullover, or I like the quarter zips more than the pullover smart wool sweaters. I guess they're sweaters, but that's what I wear. And I'll show, I guess we'll add some footage to this. I'll pull them out and we'll show them all. All right, these are the Cole pants. The Riders are kind of the mainstay. They still make them. They've always made them. If you're looking at a pair of Cole pants, you will know what the model is because they're printed on the inside here. They're kind of like a waxed canvas. It's not. You can see they get a patina to them where the marks are where your stuff sits. This right here is a double layer of material. It's an abrasion guard, so your big pocket clips don't chew your shit up like they do most pants. These ones have a pocket here also. I'll carry my Surefire flashlight right here. And other than that, they're just reinforced. They're doubled up down here. They've got all these gussets, so they actually are kind of pre-set to the bend of your knee. That's the Riders. They're about 79 bucks. That's the titanium color. These are kind of faded out a little bit, and that's what they look like more new. This is the espresso color. This pair of pant right here is Above the Law, and this is their real robust ones. It's got some extra pockets. Instead of a snap, it's got a button right here. It's got the main pocket here. These pockets are a little lighter inside. I do wear the pockets out. I carry a lot of heavy shit typically. Mainly my phone is where they wear out. In the corners, it busts the pocket out. Now they do make a pocket liner kit that you can, if you're handy, you can take the old one out and sew it in. You know, the fabric stores have those.
That's neat.
You can also make them out of like a pillowcase or different material. Like you can build a new pocket if you can hand sew a little bit. This particular pair of pants has this extra abrasion guard here. These unzip to vent. That's what those are, is vents. This pocket back here, It's a slash pocket. I keep my Surefire light there. I keep my knife there. They're still pre-formed, and they have this extra cuff here with a snap. Depending on the type of shoes or boots you're wearing, you can loosen this up or tighten this up. These are the above the laws. Now, the last time I looked, I don't think they had this model anymore. I like these. This pair here, while looking very similar, has a few less options to it. And this is the law. And this one has a snap here instead of the button. It does have that slanted zipper pocket here. And then it's got the big pocket here and the small pocket. So you keep some loose keys or something here. Change if you ever have change. I don't. Big pocket. The pockets are big, like they come all the way down here. Slanted pocket. And this one has that back of the leg pocket here. You can put like a poly stinger or stinger flashlight, rechargeable will fit. It's pretty big. I usually keep knife in my main pocket and then my Surefire flashlight in the opposite pocket. And this, again, this is espresso color. And then this here, I think these are the riders. Yeah, this is just a normal pair of riders in that color. And you can see right here where my phone usually sits right here. And these are just a couple that I grabbed. I usually keep a couple pairs of pants in each of the trucks and stuff. I just grabbed these and realized that I probably need to wash these because they're a little dirty from wherever we were. And then here's one where the bottom ripped out. The material got thin here. I don't know what caused it on this pair. It's probably just really old. These do fade out. They will become much lighter over time the more you wash them. And then they just kind of become lawnmower pants. They become outside working on the farm pants. The riders are 79 bucks. I think the most expensive pair they have is 130. I think they're well worth it. REI has them often. Cole.com has a lot of models on there, and Cole at REI as well as through Cole.com has several different weights of pullover sweater shirts, as well as thicker stuff. So 200 ounce, 400 ounce. They have a jacket that matches this. I don't ever like wearing, I don't like looking like Mr. Denim. So I never wore like Levi's and a Levi's jacket.
Yeah.
I always want a contrast, and I'm always going to wear a black shirt. So the closest I could get to a black pants was that espresso or coffee. Love them. I think you will too. I don't have any kind of discount code or anything for you, but that's what I buy. That's what I spend my own money on when I can't do Katanicas.
They also do actual over jackets as well as like underlayer
They
stuff
sure do,
too.
yeah. Yeah, it's rugged looking. You don't look at that and go, oh, that dude's got a bunch of guns and gear on him. You think, that dude's an outdoor dude, right? You think mountain bike,
maybe construction,
chopping lumber, maybe construction, REI guy, yeah.
They look like motorcycle pants to me.
Kind
Yeah,
of, yeah.
yeah.
Yep. And you
Especially with the buckles on the cuffs and
Yeah,
stuff.
and you can totally wear these with a more robust boot. Like when I ride a dual sport, I don't put on full boots. I put on a Solos.
like an ankle boot.
Yeah,
Yep.
like a mid. Chuck Peoples, besides what you've done and the continued food preservation, what is the one part of prepping self-reliant you feel you're lacking and want to improve? I.e. power, solar, more food production, more animals, or is it more people to your group? Well, it's all definitely more people with skill.
All the
It's-
above, but knowledge and information.
Yeah, it's like Bear says, like, you better get to know them dudes now before it's a time of stress, right? If you can't get along now, you're definitely not getting along then. Get together, smell each other's asses. You'll hear Bear say that, right? And I think that that's 100% correct. People, number one. Solar, I've already said that earlier in this video. Wood, we've got wood. We have, firewood production.
5-10%, and then you charge it back up, and that's all you ever do. You're not going to have any capacity in that battery.
Oh, I do it all the time.
That very well could be what it
Yeah, I
is.
do that all the time. Okay, I'll start leaving it in it till it
We'll have
dies
a
then.
set for doing this so that
Yeah. Well, I'm about to buy. I just ordered a bunch more fucking
does that
chargers.
come
and
with
shit.
batteries, or is that just
No, and some of these are all GoPro batteries that I'm using. I'm not
Right.
using the
Not the
generics,
Wasabis?
but the chargers. Like, I don't think Wasabi's even in business anymore.
Really?
Yeah, I haven't seen Wasabi shit since the GoPro
Since the older ones,
4s
yeah.
or 5s. Yeah. So Chuck Peoples, that file should still be there. We're lacking in. We have firewood. I don't have anything that burns firewood. I mean, I've got fire rings and campfires and
Couple
shit.
of barrels.
I've got some tripods for cooking over. I've got some cauldrons and, you know, I have outdoor cooking capability, but I don't own any. I don't have a furnace here. I don't have any wood burning stoves. I don't even have any tent wood burning stoves, which is an easy way to add that capacity if you want to start with. It's an inexpensive way to do it.
Just use it on a room, not the whole building.
Yeah, and that's really what you need to look at
Right.
when it comes time to do that, because you're burning fuel, right? Is this sustained? Is this kind of, oh shit, everything's over, now we have to actually survive, pioneer lifestyle kind of shit? You're not going to want to heat your whole house. You're going to heat a room of your house, and all the kids are going to sleep in the room of the house, and you're going to have the mattresses on the floor, right? That's what's going to happen. Modern Day Pioneer says, do you have any more good Ranger Dave stories you can tell? I don't know that you haven't heard them. My buddy Lance traded Matt Gray, Force Recon dude. Lance traded him a CBR 600 motorcycle, which was called a Hurricane back then. It was a 600 Hurricane, a white one. I had a black and red one. He had a white and red one. Tire was bald. You could see the metal and cords sticking through it. And he traded Matt Gray for a sailboat. I think that's how that went. So anyway, somehow Ranger Dave gets this thing. Ranger Dave, I don't know what he traded, but Ranger Dave ends up with the sailboat. And it's probably 20-foot sailboat, maybe a little bigger. And I think Lance had like sanded all the wood down and was refinishing it. It was a huge mess. Ranger Dave puts it down in San Diego in the harbor across from the airport, right where the National Guard, not National Guard, the Coast Guard is. Well, Ranger Dave doesn't have a dinghy or anything. Ranger Dave has some shitty kayak, and he paddles out and sleeps out there and paddles back in and gets in his Ranger Dave Jeep and does whatever Ranger Dave does. Well, Ranger Dave meets this girl somewhere, and she's a big one. She's a little bigger girl, a little thick, and Ranger Dave, she wants to go do the thing with Ranger Dave. So Ranger Dave takes her back to the boat, and he puts her on the kayak, and he's like, okay, I'll swim you out to the boat. And he's towing this kayak, and it's kind of a higher sea. It's choppy, and there's swales, and there's little waves out in the water, and Ranger Dave's just finally like, fuck it, I can't make it. You're gonna have to make it back on your own. And she doesn't have, I don't think there's a paddle on the boat. I don't think nothing. So eventually the waves take this chick back, and she gets back to shore, and Ranger Dave's asleep. And Saturday morning, there's a ruckus and a commotion going on, and he hears somebody calling him, or however she's signaling him, and he looks out, and she's up on the sidewalk or the pier or wherever the fuck you leave from, and she wants to come out, and Ranger Dave's like, get the fuck out of here, and he racks a shotgun. But that's Ranger Dave. I don't know the gaps of that story, but that's the gist of it. That's Ranger Dave's love life.
She said lunch is ready.
Lunch is ready. Brian Frazier. How many more of these we got? We got a few more pages. Oh yeah, we have pages more. All right, let's go eat real quick. Okay, so Brian, do you have? We did the Ranger Dave. Yeah. John, can you tell us how you and Scully met as kids, if you can remember? So we weren't actually kids. I was a little bit older. There was a gun shop called Santee Gun Shops. I believe that's what it was called. It was an old dude. I think his name was Bruce. And a dude named James worked there. I used to go to the gym with James. I don't remember how I met James, though. Ranger Dave knew Scully. And not Ranger Dave. Rich Poland, my friend Rich, knew James. And knew Scully, and Scully and Rich Poland went to school together, I believe. So I was working part-time at Santee Gun Shop. I was going to the gym with James, and I kept hearing about this sniper and special operations training group and all this stuff. And that's actually where I met Jeff. That's where I met Scully. And Scully had a bunch of my gear from James Rexroad. James Rexroad was a friend of mine. James was involved in our raid. They raided his place in Las Vegas. They raided Scully's place on Camp Pendleton. They raided a bunch of other locations at the same time. But that's how I met Scully, was from James Rexroad. But hung out all the time. And then I would get to go do a ton of cool shit with Jeff, even when he was working. We'd get put in the VIP section at a lot of the raids and the takedowns and stuff. So we'd be out there with like governors and senators and congressmen and all kinds of political people, as well as high ranking military people. And then it got to the point where we do the walkthroughs, and then it's like, hey, why don't you come out and just come out with us? So we got to do a lot of really neat shit. There was a dude on my live feed the other night. It's like, hey, I was at the ship. One of the ship takedowns you guys did, and that was cool. Reyes is his name. Small world. Vince Vega said, can you show some updates on the aquaponics system? Do you replenish the water in the aquaponics system from rainwater catchment or from city water? Okay, so there are no real updates.
You should do it.
The system has been running for over 3 years now.
I've got some stuff I need to do to it. It just has not been done yet.
Yeah, minor stuff. We're gonna, like, we have airlines. We have a pump that has a manifold with a bunch of 1/4 inch, it's probably not even 1/4 inch,
Probably 1/8 ID.
like silicone tubing. And from it hanging over the sharp edge, it kind of kinks a little bit. We just need to replace the tubing. But rather than replace the tubing, the way to really fix it is to plumb in PVC pipe. And then we bought a bunch of screw-in fittings so that just hangs straight into the tub of water, right? So it doesn't come across the sharp edge of the IBC tote. As far as water, we get evaporation. We have 4 big air stones running in each tank, in each corner. So you would get bubbles, so you're going to have water loss from that, and then heat, you're going to have water loss just because it's a sheer surface. We use floating rafts with net pots, right, which are just, we use these plastic cups, and we use gravel. You can use caliche, you can use lava rock. I literally pick rock up off the gravel and plant in that, and then the roots travel down, and then the fish and piss and shit in the water, and that's what fertilizes the plant. So the plants aspirate also, and you use water in that manner. So every couple of weeks I take the garden hose on city water and plug it in there and just fill it up until it's almost overflowing. Should you do that? Absolutely not. Aquarium people would lose their minds. I'm of the stun, right? Sheer, total, utter neglect. And if it will survive under those circumstances, anything better than that will be more profitable. So we don't really do any of the things. Like, I've never even ran a pH test on the water. I don't know what any of the alkaline, I don't know nothing about the mathematics and the chemical of the water. I just know that my fish are alive. They eat the food we give them, which is a non-GMO, super expensive fish food. For color, yeah, we have koi, and we put plants in there, and a lot of the plants we put in there are just like the end cuts. On Wednesday, we typically have hamburgers. There's a nice expensive butter lettuce, comes in this nice blister pack. We take the end off of that, just the stub, put it in the water, it grows roots and grows a whole nother head of lettuce. Cabbages do well in the float system. I've got broccoli in there. I've got all kinds of stuff that probably shouldn't be in a floating RAS system growing there. We don't consume a lot of it. I just grow it to kind of see what it'll do. Celery comes back great. I did a video a few weeks ago where I put a bunch of stubs off of onions. We had like a stir fry, and they're this tall now. These little cut, and it's just called cut and come again.
The hyacinth is doing great.
The water hyacinth has gone insane. And I take the water hyacinth, kind of still testing it to see what animals will eat it, what won't. And the rabbits eat it like crazy. The chickens peck on it and eat it somewhat. If they're hungry, I believe that they would eat it, gobble it down. The rabbits eat it really fast.
If you pelletized it, that would probably change.
So the thing with water hyacinth that you need to know, though, is if you took a 4 by 4 by 4 pile of it,
it shrinks down to this.
It shrinks down to like 3 inches tall. It's mostly water. It's mostly hydration. Great Wolf. Once the swale project is done, what is the next project for the food forest? So there's more swales coming that are way bigger distance wise. My thought is that the whole inside where the horse fencing is out front, where I basically put all those mulch piles and planted all those trees, my intention is to destroy all those trees now, level all that shit flat, and put a swale that comes all the way in. It'll actually be 2 or connected to, so that whole fence line there is swale and berm. But we'll move it back because I want to be able to get a mower through there for sure. I'm actually going to buy a smaller riding mower just for mowing around the trees and shit. I went to do a quick mow the other day, which should have taken 30 minutes, and the gas Husqvarna mower wouldn't start. Bad gas, old gas, ethanol. So I go get the battery powered Cobalt mower, and one of the battery packs, even though it says charged, is not charged. So that turned into 3 hours later. I finally have it mowed somewhat.
And still pulled out the big mower to do it.
Yeah, and still pulled out the big mower.
I came back to help you with that, but you already had it running by the time I got back.
So Neil's gonna go through all those next week, and I'm gonna see if we can get one of those Craftsman mowers.
Do weed eaters and chainsaws at the same time too.
Have them go through that craft, see if we can get one of those 3 Craftsman running, and if not, I'm gonna go buy a small.
The decks on those things are pretty wrecked.
Yeah, but we can. I can buy.
Can you?
Yeah, I can buy parts. You know, they're all over the place. I see them on Craigslist, like parts mower.
Yeah, just buy the unit.
As long as you're not mowing rocks with those things and tree stumps. Because we were breaking.
They're smaller now.
We would bend the blades so much that the blades would gouge the ground, but it would blow the pumps. It would blow out the spindles.
The spindle, yeah. I've replaced
So,
spindles.
To answer your question fully, Great Wolf, the swales up top will overflow into the 9, and those 9 will ping pong back and forth, and that will go out into that kind of flat area as you're coming on the property, but up a little ways. It's a grade, right? So we'll put a small pond there. That pond will overflow and feed that new big giant swale that's going in there, and that'll be the entire fence line where it curves from the feed house all the way to the entrance of the property. Plus that whole hill is at a slight grade, so all the water will come off of that hill and feed that, even if we don't have enough rain to overflow the upper swales. Where the burn pile is in the back, we're going to dispose of all that rotted wood back there. Basically, we're going to light a bonfire, and then there's another swale going in the back also that'll be bigger than the other 2 in the back. And then we'll probably, as we go out, there's a few trees that got to come down. Friend came in and looked at removing. We have 6 big dead trees that are dead because of the pond installation. And then once that's going, we will look at it and see where we need to get sunlight. We might have to remove a few more of the big trees in the back, but we will install things that produce a crop of nuts or calories in some manner. Drive strength. John, have you had any luck doing water glassing with eggs, adding pickling lime to distilled water to preserve them long term?
So it's like the mineral oil rub on them.
Supposed to get 1 to 2 years out of them with farm fresh eggs. I have 24 dozen going right now. So to answer your question, we brought in 100 pounds of lime 6 months ago. We've never executed and done it because never is there a time when I don't have fresh eggs. Even in the lowest day, coldest, darkest days of winter, I'm still pulling dozens of eggs all the time. And then preserving them. To preserve eggs in jars, I can use that room, that same volume on a shelf. I can put hundreds of eggs that are freeze dried into individual bags that are easier. They're not glass. I don't have to worry about big glass jars. I don't have to worry about bulk. I don't have to worry about liquid. Great idea, but there's never a time where I don't have eggs. And if there is, I have thousands and thousands of eggs that are already cooked and freeze dried. So all we have to do is rehydrate and heat up. Did you own a reptile business? And if so, Jeff asked, did you own a reptile business? And if so, what type of reptiles did you own and breed? I've heard you touch on this a little bit in the past. Any interesting or crazy stories surrounding experience would be cool to hear. Okay, I did not really have a reptile business. I had a lot of reptiles, and I had enough,
high-end stuff.
High-end stuff. But I had enough reptiles that it was a full-time job, right? So I had a dude came in, was really good with reptiles, and he really didn't take care of my reptiles, right? I'd come in at night to take photos, and I'm like, hey, where's this tricolor, right? Where's this $5,000 ball python? Oh, I moved it to another cage. And then I'd go out to the dumpster to take trash out that was left all over my fucking reptile room, and I'd find my $5,000 snake dead in the dumpster, right? Just silly shit. Just people, if you don't really overwatch people that are taking care of your stuff, they don't take care of your stuff. And then I had a dude that was Nicolas Cage's reptile guy out of Las Vegas. He came and worked for about a year, didn't like the small town. So it just got to the point where it was a lot of labor again. I had 2 dudes that I was paying full time. And the truth of my reptile collection was, if you really did the work, it wasn't but 2 hours a day to do the work. People have this idea that you're, you know, blowing a flute and charming snakes, and they think that you're like they think that you're like Crocodile Man or something, right? But that's not the case. 90% of taking care of a reptile collection is washing dishes and picking up poop and dust. Like, dust is fucking everywhere. We would go through and do cage changeovers. I mean, it's a mess. Like, when you have a big reptile collection, you want reptiles, awesome. If you have a few snakes, cool. When you have hundreds of snakes, if not thousands of animals, it's a full-time job. And you can totally do it in one of these sheds, but the shed will never be the same. Like, the guys that have the really nice collections, they have old hospital buildings, old bank buildings, old jail buildings, individual rooms, right? So their reptiles, their hots, are behind a locked door. You got to go through 2 doors to get to venomous. I never kept anything venomous. But concrete is what I'm saying, right? Commercial concrete. You can sweep everything in the corner, vacuum it up. And that's the biggest thing, is just, if you keep it clean, it'll be clean. If you let it get to the point where it's not clean, it will never be clean again. And it's just dusting and vacuuming and sweeping. And it's amazing how many people don't know how to sweep, right? When people are like, here, let me help you clean the garage up after an event. I'm like, no thanks, I'll do it myself. Because I have all that black and red gym equipment in there, right? Dust gets on it, and then you got to dust it all. And it's a lot of work. If you just take a push broom, and there's 2 kinds of push brooms. There's a coarse push broom, and there's a soft push broom. You use the soft push broom on smooth concrete, and you baby push, right? And you'll get these little lines of dirt and fine powder. And you make your piles, and then you come through and just vacuum them up with the shop vac. If you sweep fast, if you get 3 people in there who's always in a hurry, you are literally in a cloud of dust, and now it's in all of your AC intake vents, and it's all over everything out there. So if you just got to stay clean with it. If you keep it clean, it'll stay clean.
One thing that I heard you say in one of those old snake videos that might be pertinent to somebody who wants to do this is, you were saying it takes the same amount of effort to raise an expensive snake.
Absolutely. So I always use the example of bearded dragons.
Mm-hmm.
Bearded dragons is kind of the entry. It's the puppy dog of the reptile world. They have individual personalities. They raise their arms up and do cool things. They eat crickets and vegetation, right? Flowers and greens and stuff. Very easy to take care of. You can get a $50 bearded dragon, and if you breed $50 bearded dragons, you're producing $15 to $20 babies. You can get $5,000 bearded dragons, and if you produce $5,000 bearded dragons, you can sell those babies wholesale, the whole entire clutch of them, for $1,000, $1,500, or you can sell them direct. Once you have a name for yourself, you can sell $5,000 bearded dragons. So having high-end animals, you produce high-end animals. Having low-end animals, you produce low-end animals. But the input, the cost to feed, the cost for beddings, and the time for labor, it's identical. It's just the paint job on the snake. That's the deal with the ball pythons. I don't know if there still is. I'm so far out of ball pythons. I had $5,000 ball pythons.
It's still just as crazy.
But you can, like, if you're gonna do it, break into it, see if you want to do it with inexpensive animals. Decide which way you want to go, right? You want retics, fast, aggressive, like a T-Rex, real beautiful paint jobs now. You want ball pythons, small, compact. You just keep them in drawers. You can have hundreds of them in a small wall space. Do you want something that you're really going to see? Snakes typically want to hide, right? So do you want tricolors, right? King snakes. There's just so much cool stuff. Decide what you want and do that. Do you want to get bit all the time? Do you want something that's not going to bite you? I mean, we would go through and literally feed. I would take a package of 100 mice, put them in hot water so they would defrost, and then I'd use long tongs. But I kept everything in rack systems. Most stuff was in rack systems. You'd open it up, the snake would come flying forward, and sometimes they're like flying snakes. I would have snakes come out of these drawers and literally like lunge at me, right? Mouth open. It's a feeding response. If you only open the cage to feed the animal thinks there's food coming every time. And I would get bit, like feeding a few hundred snakes, I'd get bit 2 or 3 times every time. I took photos of it quite often. I showed a lot of that when I was down there at the other building. I still have the other building. All the caging is still in the other building. I have zero. I think I have zero reptiles right now.
That's what I think. You remember the Mexican black king snake?
Yes. It would eat itself?
You almost had to drown that to get it off your thumb.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Was that
first one.
in San Diego?
Yes.
Well, I had to hold it in the toilet to get it off of there.
Yeah,
we were
so
at
you tried the sink. Was that Applegate or was that?
No, it was the head of the Herpetological Society. That dude worked at the zoo.
He had some super cool stuff.
Yeah, he had some neat stuff. But then I had a highway pattern, which is it's a jet black California king snake with a yellow stripe, but it was broken, so it literally looked like the lines on the highway. And this fucking snake would eat itself all the time. It would literally swallow its tail, which they'll die. It'll die.
Yeah, you have to pull them apart.
But every time we would feed this thing, it would fucking grab itself and bite itself all the time. He finally outgrew that. But there's just like, it's work, man. You have to decide what you want to do and what the return is. And I did it when the kids were little. It was something we could do together. Every kid likes dinosaurs. Closest you're going to get is lizards and snakes to a dinosaur right now. So we did the snake thing, and when it wasn't fun for them anymore, it became a full-time job for me. I hired a dude. There's money to be made if you do it right.
If you're actually breeding and producing.
Yeah, you have to actually. Everybody thinks you're going to have a business. Oh, it's a write-off. It's a write-off. It's a write. You can't write shit off. Write-off doesn't mean you don't have to report the money. There has to be income in order to benefit from a write-off. So it was just labor. It was a big full-time job. I would be up there 3 days a week for hours at a time, and most of the animals were old at that point. So as they died, we just didn't replace any of them. So I gave a lot of them away. Jason Rappaport has, I think, a couple of my bigger boas.
Yeah. In addition to taking care of the animals and all that, there's also the crickets that you have to deal with as well.
So we were bringing in 10,000 crickets. Would get here every Tuesday from FedEx.
And the rats.
And the FedEx driver would always have crickets around. No matter how well these crickets were packaged, they would be in this building, and then we'd take them to the other building. And that was the big thing. Like, I don't want fucking crickets around me ever again.
Yeah.
And as far as the mice, we would get mice in, and you pay for shipping for hazardous material because there's dry ice in there. So if you're going to buy 100 mice, you might as well buy 1,000 mice, right? So we have I have freezers right now full of mice.
Still, yeah.
And rats. But then we bred our own rats, and we were producing hundreds of rats every week. So those are rack systems also. They're cement trays, 5-gallon bucket. You have basically a wire mesh on top that they can eat through. So you had to have the proper feeding, the pelletized feed. We use something like a monkey chow. Purina has a high protein rodent feed. And when originally when we started breeding rats, we were using cheap dog food. It was $6 a bag from Tractor Supply, and the rats would live on it. But nothing like when we switched to high protein feed. The litters were triple in size. We had 1 pound rats as opposed.
Fur was different.
Everything about them, man. They were just so much healthier. But even taking care of rats, I'd go up there once a week and do a rat clean out and change over, and that took a couple hours.
Well, and if you have one pull that nozzle through that mesh and they chew the end off,
yep.
They flood themselves.
Yeah, we have these brass lickers, and if they got that through there somehow, and they did, and bit through that tubing, it would flood that tray. So if you didn't catch it soon enough, you'd come in and you'd have a floating, rotting corpses of rats, you know. Otherwise, they're very resilient. You'd come in and there'd be like 5 rats looking at you like, please save me. Yeah.
So I would take a pair of pliers and actually crimp that so that it would hold it better.
Yeah, I still have all the infrastructure. I mean, we could turnkey right now and start breeding reptiles or rats or whatever, but I don't need to do that. I don't want to do that. I have a lot of other things that I want to do, and it's not that right now. It was neat. When we'd had the first few parties, we had very, very high-end animals on display. My friend made a table for me. It's got 4 pull-out drawers, so on Halloween we could put like orange and black snakes. Around Christmas we could put green and red snakes in there. I just don't want the labor that comes with it. Have you considered beekeeping on the compound? Would love to see beekeeping basics at Self-Reliance Festival. I have no knowledge on the subject, but I know I love having access to local honey and would prefer to do it on my own if I could learn. Okay, so the honey thing, everybody's medicinal, right? It'll take care of your allergies. I believe there's something to that. I also believe that it has to be within 10, 20 miles of your house. So when you're buying honey from San Diego, it's not doing shit from you unless it's right near your house, because you need those bees processing the pollen that you're breathing that's fucking you up. We have a lot of people at Self-Reliance Festival that do bees. Permapasture Farms does bees. I know John Witherspoon does bees. I literally had a bee conversation yesterday. I have a beehive kit that I got for Cody years ago. We've never populated it. We do need bees here. We're probably late in the year. I just need some old timer to bring 5 stacks of bees here and let him process it. I need the bees for pollination. I have people give me honey. I think that we get almost all the honey Permapasture Farms. Like, I eat Permapasture honey almost every breakfast. I have it, and it's awesome. It's buckwheat and comfrey honey. As far as what was I going to say with this? So we need it for pollination, right? There's no honeybees. And I realized there was no honeybees last year around. I mean, you always hear it, but it really, when I looked out there, there's flies all over the mint, and they pollinate. And then we have bees, but they're more like carpenter bees and little wood bees and stuff. They're not honeybees. So we went to one Saturday, and there's a compound video of it. We went to Lowe's, Home Depot, Tractor Supply, and I'm gonna go buy a bunch of flowers, right? And we go to the Home Depot garden center, and there's field of flowers as far as you can see, right? And I realized there was no honeybees there either. Those same wood bees and those furry bees are all over pollinating, but there's no honeybees anywhere there. And we put in a lot more flowers. Every one of these raised beds has flowers in it this year. I don't know if it helped. There's still not a lot. We do have some honeybees because Becky, about 20 acres that way, I know she put in several stacks of bees, so I'm assuming her bees are over here feeding.
Yes, sir.
But next year we will have stacks here. You need to look at bees like they're pets. Like, you actually have to take care of them. You have to do things to them and with them. So you need to be aware of that. Who is the bee guy that Jack Spirko has on all the time? He sounds like the stoner from The Simpsons, the bus driver. I can't remember his name. I will find out. If you want it, I'll find it. There's tons of beekeeping stuff on YouTube, and we do have a lot of people at SRF, at Self-Reliance Festival, that do bees, and I will put you in touch with some of them.
The knowledge is definitely around.
Yeah, it's here. Tyler, last question. Tyler Mallory, what do you think about privatizing schools without them being under a religious affiliation? I think a private program that gets guidance from a 4-H would be phenomenal for our youth. So I think the reason you see a lot of the schools with the church aspect, the religious aspect, is for tax purposes. I think it's easier maybe. I don't know for sure. Great idea, 4-H. I think that you should send your kids to a school that emphasizes on your beliefs. And if that's farmers, I think that's great. 4-H was very involved in the schools here.
They have a camp and everything.
Yeah, Cody took machining and automotive and welding at school here, and then we sent him to TCAP. We sent him to a trade school where he learned CNC programming and flame tables and lasers, and he actually worked at some places doing those things before he came back in-house here. I think it's a great idea. I haven't looked. I don't know a lot about privatized schools, so I don't have a lot of real knowledge to give you on that, but I think it's a wonderful idea, man. I think the biggest thing is raise your children how you want them raised, and the biggest thing, and it's by design. Public school system originally comes from the Prussian school system, which was designed World War I pre to get kids to show up on time, move with a bell, and to create factory workers, right? If you wouldn't want to hang out on the weekend with your kid's school teacher, they probably shouldn't be teaching your kid. Like, if you get the feeling that they don't like what you're about, if you feel like you have to hide the conversations that you typically have, that's probably not the person that should have the biggest waking hours of your kid, right? We know from Acellus Academy and all these schools that your kid can accomplish all their schoolwork within 2 hours. But you're of the belief, not you, but the most of society is of belief, like, it's a built-in babysitter, it's free daycare, and that's why people continue to let their kids get corrupted by that system, because it is a free daycare. And you are of the belief that I can't, right? You've been told, well, how do I work if I can't afford daycare, right? There's always a way. You're just not looking at it the right way. And that, I don't think that's most people probably watching this. And that's the last question. Did you see it? Do you remember the questions? Which one did you like best?
I don't know. I like that one.
All right, so we're gonna pick 3 winners out of these. But he.
I was saying this one.
No question. Just wanted right on, Casey Kemp.
Not even a question.
We're gonna pick three winners, and then we're gonna verify that you are in fact level 2, and we're gonna send you guys something. And so far, it's been, I don't know, $75 value probably. I think we send everybody. It's not. We're not sending you just like a sticker. So I like the Cole Pants one, but he didn't leave any info. Okay, so he's disqualified. He didn't leave a order number or size. That would have been a winner. The Reptile business guy, I went on for a while about that. He, again, no order number. Let's do Byron Roberts.
Okay.
About what you do when you're not motivated. Let's do...
I was looking at Tyler, because it's about the schools and it's like a hot topic.
Yeah, I like the school. I have a lot of opinion about that.
Yeah, like I do too. We could have an hour-long video just talking about schools.
Let's throw Guzman on there too, since he had a similar question. I'm gonna go with the beekeeping one. We're gonna do the beekeeping.
Okay, so we have Monica Parks.
Yep. Okay, guys. So the way we're doing this, level 2, level 1 and 2 ask questions that we'll address. Level 2, guys, put in your last order number so we have something to look you up by, and your shirt size. Last time we sent them a shirt plus a toiletry bag, or a shirt plus a grocery bag. We sent a few things to, everybody got a couple things. And what I'm gonna do this time is look up your order number, and like one of the dudes, most of the stuff he ordered was coyote. That's why we're looking up your order number, so that we have, number 1, your address. I can create a label off of that, so we don't have to handwrite or find you or contact you. And then also, one of the dudes, all of his shit was coyote, so we sent him something in coyote. That's what we're going to do with these 4 people. We're going to verify that you are level 2, and we are going to look up your previous orders, and based on the colors that you typically choose, I'm going to look around and see what I have, and we're going to send you a shirt plus something else. So to be level 2, it's only $5 a month, guys. That's all. I'm
talking about realest, one of the realest to try. My family, SOE, got